Good evening, everybody. Welcome to what is probably going to be a relatively subdued edition of Rob's Little Blue Book. I got my booster yesterday, and it is just kicking my ass. So yeah, it's going to be simple tonight and relatively low key. But I'm going to take this opportunity to do something that I'm going to cook for myself. So one question I get a lot is, and we've been over this, what's my favorite dish to cook? And typically my favorite dish to cook is whatever I'm cooking for the person who's going to enjoy it. I love to cook for people. However, having said all that, there are a couple things that I make just for myself. I'm just cooking for myself, or I'm feeling sorry for myself, like tonight. These are things I make for me. So tonight we're going to do just a plain white risotto. And we're going to start off with a cocktail. So again, in keeping with the theme of simplicity, tonight's cocktail, switch here, is going to be whiskey on the rock. Very straightforward. This is a really good rye from Dillon's. And I like my rye when I'm drinking it just by itself with a small piece of ice, which is what I have. A relatively simple cocktail. It's not even really a cocktail, I guess, but as I said, we're going simple tonight. I highly recommend, by the way, if you haven't tried out Dillon's, just a fantastic Canadian distiller. I've been to the distillery a couple times now. People there are super nice, and they just have a fantastic line of products. I've been drinking their gin and their whiskeys. I've tried a couple of their flavored gins, and what else? Right now I have an unfiltered gin, which Serena doesn't like, but I still do like. It's great for gin and tonics. Anyway, give them a shot. So, any questions on the cocktail? Probably not, eh? Okay, so let's get into the ingredients for a white risotto. So you can make all kinds of different risottos. You can put, oh yeah, the plum schnapps is really good as well. You can put all kinds of things in risotto, all kinds of wonderful things. But to me, and if you've watched the stream, I like focusing on simple dishes with really high quality ingredients. So we have tonight, we're going to be using. This is actually arborio rice, because I ran out of carnaroli rice. So there's 3 types of rice you can use for risotto, and one you can only get in Italy. As far as I can tell, I've never been able to find it here, and I don't remember the name of it even. The other 2 are arborio, which everybody knows, and carnaroli, which is very similar to arborio. It's a slightly smaller grain, and I like it a little better. It's a texture thing. It's a little bit of a flavor thing. It has a slightly nuttier flavor. But I'm out, so I'm going to use regular risotto. I'm going to use regular arborio, which is just fine. Arborio rices, again, it's worth going to. I don't have the box for this one, but it's it's worth going to like a good market to get a good quality arborio. I've used the supermarket stuff in the past, and it's okay. And if you've got nothing else, don't let that stop you from making a risotto. But it's worth, if you know, especially markets everywhere. I'm sure even I bet you PC has a black label arborio rice you can get. So use that. Okay, so other than that, there's obviously a little bit of onion. Parmesan cheese, of course. I finished mine with a little bit of butter. Not every risotto recipe has butter in it, but I find it adds a nice, rich, creamy flavor to it. And I have some wonderful... Ow. Shit. Sorry. I have some wonderful bone stock, which was given to me by my very good friend Carolyn. Because she knew I wasn't... Actually, I think she brought this over before I wasn't feeling well. But anyway... homemade stock is wonderful, and you can use any kind of stock for risotto. I tend to stray away from chicken stock for risotto, especially a plain risotto. This, I believe, Carolyn said, is turkey stock, which I'm really. It smells amazing. I've got a warm on the stove back here. I don't like chicken stock for risotto. Most risottos will call for chicken stock. I don't want my risotto to taste like chicken soup unless I'm doing a chicken risotto. And I do a really good chicken mushroom risotto, which I love, and I'll use chicken stock for that. But I don't want my other risottos to taste like chicken. It just is a weird flavor to me. And that could be partly because if you don't have like fresh chicken stock, which obviously has a different flavor than the store-bought stuff, even the really good stuff that like the base that I use, which is Better Than Bouillon. I don't have any chicken around, but it's a when you're in a hurry, it's a fantastic base. It's miles ahead of OXO or all that crap. It's a really good product. And then the other option is the Campbell's low sodium. So Campbell's makes a 30% reduced sodium broth you can buy in the Tetra Paks. It's also acceptable for risotto and whatever you happen to be making. It's just bulky. And I don't often use the entire container, and then I don't know what the hell to do with it. And then my freezer ends up full of like half full Tetra Paks of frozen chicken stock. And there's no real advantage over the Better Than Bouillon. So this isn't a big kitchen, and I'm not going to keep a ton of stock on hand. Okay, so we covered that. Obviously, going to be a little salt seasoning at the end. Yeah, there's not much to this. So, and olive oil, of course, to saute the onions. You could also start with shallots as well as onion, or a mix of the two. I'm just going to use onion because I got one. So let's get this onion chopped up, and we'll get into this. Any questions so far on ingredients and whatnot? Ooh, my arm. Sorry, guys. I got the shot in my right arm, and you're probably wondering, like, why the hell would you get the shot in your right arm if you're right-handed? And I'll tell you why, because I made that mistake before. I sleep on my left side, and that's probably all I need. That's actually too much. I sleep on my left side, and so the first time I got shot in the left arm, I couldn't sleep for like 3 days because I had these terrible reactions to the vaccine, and I know the alternative is worse. I gotta tell you, that's killing me. So the next time I got the shot in the right arm, which means I can sleep, but I can't lift my arm higher than about here, which is okay for knife work, I guess. Okay, and let's just grate the Parmesan now. So microplane grater, I think these things are great. Giant block of Parmesan. You probably won't have one this big, but Costco, man. Costco has really good Parmesan cheese. And in terms of quantities, ingredients, for me, risotto is a personal preference thing. How much cheese you put in, how much onion. I like a lot of parm in my risotto. I'm making enough here for two, because Serena's going to want some. But, I just kind of eyeball it. You can start, if you want to look up a recipe of risotto, they're all the same. You could start with the basic quantity that seems right to you and modify from there. It's really personal preference. Okay, so let's, what am I done here? There we go. Let's get this started. And again, so there are a couple of tricks to risotto, and I'm not going to do one of them, but I'll tell you about it as we go tonight. Because one of the secrets of risotto, or one of the sort of myths actually, is that you have to painstakingly, I want for two people, about a tablespoon and a half of olive oil, a little more, olive oil is good, that you have to sit there and stir and stir and stir and mind it and go, incorporate every little bit. And that's true towards the end of the cooking. I would say about, that's fine. I would say about halfway through, you have to start minding how much broth is going or whatever. But you can actually just, for the first half, you can put in half your broth and just stir it every once in a while and cook it until it absorbs that. and then you can start fine tuning. Now, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it old school, and show you the actual like traditional technique. But if you're in a hurry and you just want to make this for yourself, like just throw it in there. So, and again, this is probably too much onion for what I want to do, so I'm going to cut back. And again, you get a sense for quantities as you go. There we go. Funny, olive oil it has this particular, that's about as much as I want, it has a particular aroma just when it comes up to the right temperature. You can always know when it's ready. One of the myths about olive oil, well, it's not really a myth. So of all the oils that you're going to cook with, olive oil is probably going to have the lowest smoke point. And so people say don't use olive oil for sauteing, don't use olive oil for general cooking or frying because it has such a low smoke point. But honestly, like the smoke point's around 420 degrees Fahrenheit, and most people aren't turning up their pans that high anyway. So if you like the flavor of olive oil, don't let it stop you from cooking with it like that. So this is going to take a second. I want to get this a little bit soft, and I always add a little salt to my onions to bring out a little bit of moisture and flavor as you go. Be careful though when you're seasoning for a risotto or any dish where you're adding a broth or a stock and reducing it. I'm relatively certain Carolyn didn't put any salt into the broth that I'm using, but certainly if you're using like maybe she did, I don't know, we'll find out. I tasted it, doesn't taste like there's a lot of salt in it. But certainly if you're using a store-bought broth, they're going to have salt and sodium in them, even the low-sodium broth from Campbell's. And because you're evaporating and you're reducing it, you can unintentionally make your dish quite too salty, and there's no going back once it's too salty. Any questions on onions or and these are already getting to the right color here. Okay, so next step is using your left arm. It's always important to put the rice into the pan with your non-dominant hand. Okay, that's not true. But, okay, so what I'm doing here is I want to give a little bit of a toast to the rice, to release a little bit of that nutty flavor. You can smell it when it happens. Is everybody enjoying their short week this week? I'm assuming everybody had Monday off. Well, and some of us had more than Monday off. And again, like one of the things you want to learn when you're cooking as you go is pay attention to what's going on. Pay attention to the smells and the aromas and the sounds of things as you're going through the cooking process. And there's a lot of clues in there as to what your food is doing when you're cooking it, and over time, those things become second nature. Your body will just, or your brain will just automatically pick them up. Like I'll be cooking in the kitchen with my back to the stove and whatever, and just hear something or smell something and just know that something needs to be looked at. Okay, so one of the other ingredients we didn't talk about yet is white wine, which this isn't. This is vermouth because I don't have any white wine, but vermouth is a perfectly acceptable substitute. And we're just doing this for like a little bit of flavor. By the way, speaking of cooking myths, there's a myth out there that when you cook with alcohol, all the alcohol burns off when you cook the dish because of the heat. The alcohol will evaporate, and some of it does. But for most dishes, you're still left with about 40% of the alcohol in the dish when you're done. If you want to boil all the alcohol out of a dish, you have to cook it for like 2 hours, which nobody really does. So that's only an issue, I guess. I mean, most people don't care. You're certainly never going to get drunk off the alcohol in a dish, and you don't have to worry about serving it to kids or anything. But you would want to be mindful if you were serving a dish with alcohol in it to somebody who isn't having alcohol for other reasons, religious reasons or whatever it happened to be. So be mindful of that. So we're going to add a little bit of stock. Let's see how we go here. So I'm not using... I'm going to give this a little bit of a taste. I'm not using a ton of stock here. So one of the things you have to be careful about when you're using a broth, because remember, you're reducing this and the flavor is going to get quite concentrated. So at some point, once you've used up your stock, you're going to want to switch to just some warm water or something less flavor intensive. Oh, wow. Okay. So it's not seasoned much, and it's absolutely delicious. So shout out to Carolyn for making my life a lot easier today. Now, having said that, this is a nice mildly flavored stock, but I'm going to want more of it. So, you don't want to add stock that's like boiling or simmering to your risotto, because it'll just evaporate too quickly before it does its job of cooking the rice. But you don't want it cold either. So somewhere like, I don't know, like tea that's been like the temperature of Serena's tea by the time she gets around to drinking it, which is kind of like more than room temperature, but not super hot either. I know that's a metric that everybody can take home and use. Okay. Any questions so far, guys? I know this is a low-key night. Happy, even the way I'm feeling, I'm happy to be doing this with you. But yeah, let's see how this goes. Oh, you know what we didn't do? Plates in the oven. See, nobody's reminded me. Plates in the oven. Risotto is definitely something that you don't want to serve on cold plates. I will ask Carolyn. I suspect she did a huge Christmas dinner and took it to all of her people that were important to her, and I'm sure this was the turkey carcass. And she said onions, carrots, and a couple other things. It sounded pretty traditional. It's absolutely delicious. Maybe I'll do a stream on stocks and stuff like that, because it's something that everybody should have. And I've been a little bit, honestly, like, even for myself, I've been a little bit lazy about having fresh stock. I normally have several kinds of stock in the freezer, and I have not been doing that as much lately. I've been a little spoiled because you can get a really good quality, as I said, that Better Than Bouillon, which I use, is pretty damn good. It's obviously not homemade stock, but it's pretty good. But yeah, maybe I'll do a thing, because the other thing you can do, I don't have an Instant Pot anymore, but if you have an Instant Pot at home, They make amazing stock. I did. I did talk about that, and this is I am actually really enjoying. So I don't, as I said before, I don't like chicken. Don't like chicken stock for risotto. I use a mushroom stock actually for my mushroom risotto. But this just has a really delicate, meaty flavor. It doesn't taste. Turkey stock just doesn't taste of turkey the way chicken stock tastes of chicken. And maybe it's just I don't know what it is with me and chicken stock. It might just be me, guys. Like, maybe I just have a thing against chicken stock. But it's just that pervasive chicken soup flavor. Maybe it's from too much instant ramen when I was at university or something. I don't know. The arm is really sore. I think I said that already. I'll stop whining, by the way. Alright. A little more in here. And in just a couple minutes, we'll start tasting this. It won't be anywhere close to done yet. But, we'll give it a little taste. Yeah, and as I said, and that's a good point. I was saying before, like, I always switch to water at some point during my tasting. I find that the stock flavor, because you don't want the stock flavor to overpower the parm, for example. Like, Parmesan's a pretty strong flavor. It can stand on its own, but it is possible to just blow out your cheese flavor. And I don't want to do that either. All right, let's see where we're at here. Nope, not even close. Might have the heat up a bit higher on this one. Okay, so now we're just gonna have to like... The heat adjustment for when you're cooking risotto is always kind of... It's a fine line because you need enough heat so that and you can see it here. You need enough heat so that it's simmering, so that it's actually cooking the rice. But you don't want it so high that you're boiling off the liquid before the rice has a chance to absorb it. Which is the reason you can't just do this like on a super low heat. I'm pretty sure slow cooker risotto is not a thing. God, I hope it isn't. I'm sure if I went on TikTok, I could find slow cooker risotto, but that's because TikTok is toxic. This is what happens when I'm not feeling well. I get overly critical of just about everything. So I'll be slamming TikTok, cheap stocks, you know, all the easy targets. Okay. So having said this is going to be a short stream, I did actually forget how long it takes to cook risotto. Back to talking ham. So I don't know if you guys can see here, it's like a little bit of stock left. And I'm not really going to go, I'm going to switch to water after that, if we need to after that. One of the things we can talk about is risotto consistency. I've been in restaurants before where, yes, I agree with you, Serena. I'll turn this down a bit. Sorry. So for those of you who saw Close Encounters of the Third Kind, which is an ancient movie, there's a scene in that movie where I think it's the father, I think it's maybe the protagonist dude, but anyway, the guy who is affected and is going crazy by the on upcoming alien visit or whatever, builds this giant mesa mound, Devil's Tower, it turns out of mashed potatoes on his dinner plate one night. And he's like, we got to go there. It was kind of like Field of Dreams, you know, if you build the mashed potato thing, that's where the aliens are going to come. Anyway, that part's not important. But you don't want your risotto to be that consistency. If you can build something out of your... Yeah, no spoilers. I mean, that movie is older than... Yeah, very old movie. But if you can build something structural out of your risotto, it is too thick. I like a risotto to... I'm going to serve it in bowls tonight, but you'll see when we serve it. Keep stirring. Hey, Paul, how's it going? How are you feeling? Oh, shit. You haven't missed much, actually. Just sauteing the onions and whatnot. And you missed my super complicated cocktail earlier, which was whiskey on the rock. Cheers. And... Sorry, consistency. So you'll see when we serve this. I want, when you put a ladle full of risotto in a bowl or on a plate, it should like settle and run like out just a bit. Maybe not like soupy. It's not like Rice ABC. But you do want that like relaxed state, not a paste. If I want oatmeal, I'll make oatmeal. So it should not be like that. And that really isn't a personal preference thing. That's just a doing it right kind of thing. All right, let's see where we're at here. Okay, I'm getting closer. Not yet. So what I'm looking for, you guys can't obviously taste this, but a risotto rice grain. For me, a perfectly cooked risotto, you don't want it mushy, okay? But you also think the grain should just have like the slightest bite in the center. So when you bite into it, your teeth should go like almost all the way through, and there should be just like a little resistance. Now, if it's crunchy or there's too much resistance in the middle that you're like teeth are actually stopping them biting through something, it's not done yet. But I tend to err on the side of a firmer bite than, yeah, not quite. Yeah. It's great. And the stock, this stock is just the perfect complement. It's exactly the right intensity for stock for a risotto. Hey guys. It's nice to see the Kingston crew. I'm gonna have to make some time to get out and go climbing with you guys. So, like, as I said, guys, for those of you who are late, Paul, and that's Aaron, right? How did he get on with his non-YouTube identity? Don't you have to use your real name? I have to talk to him about that. Anyway, I got my booster today, kicked my ass, so I'm being very, very low-key. By the way, for serving risotto is, normally this would be one of the courses of an Italian meal. Would this be a preemie? Would you start with a risotto? I can't remember, man. So you don't normally, or you wouldn't normally sit down to like a huge heaping bowl of just risotto. It would be part of a meal that had other components in it. So you would have like a smaller bowl of it. But yeah. Tonight I'm not super hungry, so this is just going to be perfect. Nope, not there yet. Okay, now we're going to switch to water. I like where the intensity of flavor for the stock is in this dish, so I don't want to add more stock flavor, but it tastes amazing already. And I haven't seasoned this dish. I haven't added the cheese or anything, and it already tastes fantastic. But I do need it to cook a little bit longer, so now at this point, I don't know if you guys can see, this is just straight up water, and we're just going to keep going. As I said before, when we first started this, you don't have to like do the stirring the whole time from the beginning. Normally what I would do here is just put in half the stock at the beginning, give it a stir once in a while, and just let it do its thing. There's no harm in that. Purists will scream about that, but I don't know what to tell you. It's never made a difference to me. Okay, I'm going to switch off that so that I can actually finish cooking this. Oh yeah, another tip, guys. In case you missed the gin and tonic episode, I just want to give you another tip while we're doing this. If you like gin and tonic, and I do, this stuff, so this is the PC, oh you can't, camera won't focus. This is a Sicilian tonic water by PC. It's the black label stuff. You can also buy another really good Canadian company called talk about seafood risotto in a sec. Farmers, Feelers, Finders, it doesn't matter. Serena will remember, but these little ball of tonic waters, I was really skeptical because they're expensive. I mean, they're not crazy expensive. It's like $6 for a 4-pack. Doesn't make a difference. It makes a big difference. If you drink gin and tonic, this has a much better flavor. It's a lot more subtle. It's not nearly as in your face. Fever Tree. That's it. And the carbonation level is quite high, and it stays carbonated forever because it's in a glass bottle. Well, a can will too. But if you're buying Schweppes in a 2-liter bottle, although what you would do with 2 liters of tonic, I don't know, it will lose its carbonation over time, and carbonation is very important in gin and tonic. So, little aside. Okay, when you can't hold up a bottle of tonic, you know something's wrong. Okay. Yeah, it was fever free. Okay, let's see where we're at here. We got to be getting close. Oh yeah. Needs like maybe another minute. Not even. So now I'm going to do my consistency test here. And I want this just a little bit looser. Now the butter will loosen it up a little bit, but I'm still going to be cooking for just a little bit longer. So I'm going to add just the tiniest bit of hot water here. And I'm going to let that mix and absorb in. So this looks like it's too thin, but trust me, it's not. And then in just a sec, we're going to shut off the heat, and then we add the cheese, give it a good stir, add the butter. Now, before I add the cheese, I'm going to season it twice. I'm going to season it now, and I'm going to kind of under-season it, because the Parmesan is also quite salty. So what I'm doing here is I'm just bringing up the flavor of the stock to the point where I think the Parmesan will be a good complement, and then I'll do a final correction at the very end. Yeah. Just not quite there yet. The flavor's great. I just need my rice to cook just a little bit more. Get a little more heat going on here. Okay, we're just gonna let that sit for a minute, and I think we're good to go. I can get my plates from out of the oven and move the cheese over here. Hot. Really hot. Just a little bit more. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but if I had added as much extra stock as I have water to this, we would have too much stock flavor. Sometimes, ooh, hot. Perfect. Sometimes you just don't know how it's going to finish. Okay, so cheese goes in. Incorporate the cheese. I always do the cheese off the heat, guys. The burner's off. And then just a little butter to richen things up. Richened up my hands a little bit. I've just added the butter now, yeah. Butter's at the very, very end. You just kind of want to swirl it in. Again, you wouldn't do butter over the heat because you wouldn't want it to break. Okay, this looks good. So let's get this served and let me get a portion off to Serena. Yeah, that's still really hot. And then we'll do our taste test. There we go. So not, well, actually, pretty good. Not quite as much run as I wanted, but I think it's the way I put the ladle in because I'm seeing enough liquid for a good run. So let me just, as always, it's not wrong to grate parm over it. Oh, but that's so good, Paul. Okay, so give me 2 seconds, guys, and I will be right back. It's very hot. All right. Now let's give this a little mix. So in retrospect, guys, I didn't find that it needed any extra salt, so I probably pushed the limit of how much I should have salted before. Be cautious with your salt with risotto. I might have got a little bit lucky there because I added exactly the right amount of salt, and I probably should have waited. So anyway, let me get this out of the way. Do our little taste test here. Bon appetit, guys. Yeah. It's good. I love it. And I was right about the turkey stock. It doesn't taste like turkey at all. It's just this wonderful, rich. This is really good. The only disappointing thing is it means I don't think I can go back to... I'm not going to be able to go back to store-bought stocks for risotto. This is just fantastic. Wow. Okay, so I guess any questions, guys? This is one of the dishes. This is one of my go-to dishes when I'm cooking for myself. This is what I make, and it's one of my personal favorites. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. Can't stop eating it. I'm going to hang around for a couple minutes in case there's any questions. But, yeah, not too long today. Everybody be well in these strange times. And enjoy the rest of your week. So, hit me with the questions if you want. Otherwise, I'm going to have a couple more spoonfuls of this and then call it a night. And I don't know if I can actually eat with my left hand, but... It's really good. I can't eat with my left hand. It feels weird. Yeah. It's better to err, Rebecca, on the side of runny than too thick. Once it gets thick and pasty-like, it's just not... It's not nice to eat. I don't like it like that. And a lot of restaurants, I don't know whether it's because restaurants let it sit under the heat lamp before it gets out to your table or what. I mean, risotto, yeah, like a sauce. Like you can see here too, like, if I just run my finger through the bottom. Here, let me switch. See how, like, this, see how thick, that's the consistency you want. If you draw a line in it, it should just gradually come together. Thanks, Paul. I'm done anyway. We'll talk soon. But the pasty, clumpy stuff, that's not good. I don't like that. This might... it's hard to see. I'll have to show you. This might be one of the best white risottos I've ever made. Let me see if I can do it like, if I just take, well, it's my spoon here, but you put your spoon through, you can see like, or you can't actually see, the sauce will separate and it'll gradually come back together. Now, we're kind of like splitting hairs at this point. Everybody has personal preferences. I think everybody can agree that a risotto that is like sticky and like wallpaper paste is not good. But after that, in terms of how runny it is, I think it's personal preference. Like Rice ABC is a thing. Rice ABC is like a soup. It's like a thick soup, and that's technically a risotto dish. So I figure anywhere on that spectrum is going to be right. Okay, now I'm full. Also, it's very rich. And unfortunately, risotto doesn't reheat all that well. But if you're making it, don't make a double recipe and some for the next day. It doesn't work. So, okay, guys. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's nice to see the Kingston crew. Nice to see everybody else. And as always, I love doing this for you guys. I have no idea what I'm going to do next week. I have a whole bunch of ideas. I'm not up to like thinking about what to do next week. So I'll pick something off the list. It'll be a surprise for everybody, but it'll be fun and good, I hope. So I'll see everybody next week.